In other news, you guys remember I did a video on adding a printer on OpenSUSE Tumbleweed and how in Plasma it was a little cumbersome and it took a while. But despite Yast taking a little longer than usual to kind of like pull drivers down and etc., it did work. So within about 30 minutes window, I was able to get my printer working. And part of that, I have to probably attribute maybe 10 minutes of that to like just user error, not getting the right IP to add the network printer. I literally in MicroOS desktop literally turned on my printer and then went to this menu, and before I even like was able to unlock and then click add, it popped up. I didn't know this, and I got a hint of this from the workshop at Linux App Summit this past year. But I guess it comes, really, I really get to see this in action. But your desktop environment of choice does play a role in how easy printers may show up. So while one distro may be a little harder than others, it's also layered by the desktop environment, because it seems that Gnome has some things baked in to make it even easier. Whereas Plasma, you may have to go through a couple menus, a couple hoops. And then if you're on something like OpenSUSE, you're probably going to have to use a tool set like Yast instead of the native desktop environment piece. So this whole thing about like adding printers and it still sucks from that post recently on Linux user, Jupiter Broadcasting's recent episode about tough desktop love, and that guy's article about printers still sucking. It's like, yes and no. It really depends. And, I guess it could be easy to kind of like complain online about something not working for you. But it's obvious that it's way more nuanced than that. And I don't know. I just think it's never been a problem for me. I've had to fight it sometimes in the past like 5 years, but overall, I always got it going. And it's actually less painful for me on Linux to add a printer than on Windows. About 6 months ago, I had to help my father install drivers for a portable printer. And that was a freakish nightmare. It was terrible. It took an hour and some change, and I still didn't get it all the way. It just did like basic printing. You couldn't do anything editing. You couldn't edit any of the settings or dimensions or double side or whatever. It was painful. But people are so used to having a bad experience in Windows, they think it's normal, so that you don't really hear too much on that. Anyways, just wanted to give my 2 cents on this. Peace.